It's the Rangers Journal Night.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Journal. My name's Rob Harron. Unfortunately, you can't see me at the moment. My camera seems to be not working properly. But with us, we have Derrick, Cammy, and Billy for today's Rangers news. Good afternoon, guys. Thanks for joining. Derrick, how are we today?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, yourself.
Yeah, not too bad. Apart from this technical difficulty with this camera, but we'll grin and bear it. I'll maybe need to rejoin, but we'll see how it goes. Billy, how you doing?
Mate, I'm absolutely shattered. I made a silly mistake last night having a Chinese and feeling tired and thinking that'll be enough to go to bed on, but ended up waking up the rest of the night. So I've got a can of Coke. I've had 2 coffees already, but we'll see how this goes.
No problem. Excellent. I'm sure we'll try and we'll go through it as best we can. And last but not least, we've got Cammy. How you doing, Cammy?
I'm good, mate. It's Friday and sun's shining outside, so all good here. Plenty to talk about the Rangers, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think with that being said, we'll just dive right in. I think the most prominent piece of news this week came from the club yesterday with the support update regarding Hampden being in the final negotiations of being used as our home ground until further notice. It was interesting some of the words that John Bennett said, but we'll come on to that. So with that being said, we'll start with yourself, Derrick. What were your thoughts on the supporter update yesterday provided by the club?
Thanks for that. I was pretty frustrated, if I'm honest. Now, it was almost like a statement that didn't say anything. You know, a lot of words didn't say much, as my old granny used to say. But it's just a frustrating, it's a frustrating time to be a Rangers supporter with this. Now, I understand there's been delays that maybe been out with the club's control, and I want a supply chain myself and work with steel, and I understand the problems that are in the supply chain at the moment. However, the lack of transparency and updates from Rangers has not been good enough. Mistakes can be made, delays can happen, but the fact that they've not kept us in the loop and we're having to hear things from the media is just not good enough. And unfortunately, it's a sign of how the club's been ran at the moment. However, positively, we are looking to, we look as if we've got Hampden, fingers crossed, without any final hiccups. So positively, we'll have a home, and although Hampden, you could say we've had mixed fortunes there. At least it looks as if it's going to be settled soon, which is the only positive I can try and take from that, to be honest, Bob. So yeah, it's not great at the moment, and it's been a bit frustrating, if I'm honest.
Yeah, same here. I think it's taking too long. Yeah, Billy, what were your thoughts on it?
I mean, very similar, mate. We've I'm not going to say moaned, but we've asked the club to just come out and tell us what is they know, when we're going to actually be back at Ibrox. Are the game's going to be at Hampden or Murrayfield? To tell us what you know. They did, I suppose, and it shows that they don't really know that much. They know it's not going to be ready for the beginning of the season, but it's not really been given an end date. We're hoping, I guess, for the international break. I think that's what I've been reading on Twitter. But again, as Derrick was saying, that says an awful lot without really giving us the details. But I shouldn't complain, because I was just asking for an update of some sort. So at least they did give us that.
Yeah, exactly. At least better late than never. But yeah,
and can I come in? Sorry, at least there was an apology. So there is that as well.
Yeah, I know. It'll be interesting to see what John Bennett comes out with in a couple of weeks, when he said he's going to make a personal announcement at the end of July. But yeah, I think the interesting point is how it's going to affect the European things. I know we discussed it in the chat earlier on about how that may how it might impede the European games. We might not be able to play any European games at Ibrox this season, depending on when Ibrox is ready. Cammy, what were your thoughts on, obviously, the announcement yesterday, and how do you think that's going to kind of have consequences for the remainder of the season?
Okay. The announcement had been fed to certain parts of the media in advance, so I think, as Derrick had said, it's just a hugely frustrating time. The communication, I was on a bit of a moan between 5 and 6 last night that the communication wasn't we don't have a coherent communication strategy. you know, you get that statement that doesn't tell you anything. You come off that, you then get an email for Rangers that tells you a little bit more. And I don't know, can it not be linked together in one communication? You know, I just, it is what it is. I just, I look forward to finding out about the next Bun fight where the comparable seats are within Hampden, which will be interesting for people that are maybe paying like top whack, centre of the club deck or centre of the main stand, centre of the Govan. You know, you're talking 800, 900, £1,000 for some people, you know, so good luck trying to find seats that are comparable inside Hampden for that. So I think that's the next thing, but I just want to get that done and dusted, and then we can just concentrate talking about the football, because ultimately that's all that really matters. The manager's done bits with media over the last couple of days, and I think he's pretty much saying as much. You know, we just have to like, you just control what you can control, and that's all I can really say on that one.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point, Cammy. And I think what I found interesting as well is now that the club have come out and said that it will be Hampden for the foreseeable. Again, we may not have a date until near August or when the materials arrive in Scotland that we're needing for Ibrox. But it'll be interesting using Hampden, and then potentially any semi-finals or finals that we get to this season if our opponents at that point may have an issue, because we're using it as a home game or as a home venue for the league games. Does that then play into any bias or kind of say favourable decisions, whether way you want to put it? I think that'll be an interesting point to see during the season. Hopefully, as and when we get to the last stages of cup competitions.
Can I just jump in there?
Yeah.
I spoke about this on Monday, and I'd said tongue in cheek that our record at Hampden in recent years hasn't been the best. So it might actually work to our benefit if we manage to get a few victories at the National Stadium. It might actually help us moving forward. But on the flip side, if we make it to semi-finals, we might not have had a positive experience in the period that we're going to be at Hampden, you know. So it could go either way, and August is very much going to, I'm not saying make or break our season, but it sets the tone and it sets the mood for the season ahead.
Exactly. I think that's a very favourable point, Cammy. But yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see how things go between now and Christmas, if not the rest of the season. Billy, if you don't mind just jumping on the lead, I'm going to see if I can fix this technical difficulty I've had with my camera, and I'll jump on as soon as I can. Cheers.
No problem, mate. Yeah, the one thing that Bob was saying there about could other teams complain? I think there is a precedent, because Celtic did use Hampden back in the 90s, didn't they, when their stadium was getting upgraded? And I don't remember anybody moaning. In fact, it seemed to hamper them, because I think the Loudrop final that we beat them at Hampden. So I really can't. Nobody can really moan at us about that. The regards to seating, actually, Derrick, it's notoriously Hampden. We could probably still make it a good atmosphere, especially on European nights, but it's the actual seats, especially behind the goals in that section, that they're awful, aren't they?
I mean, unless you're sort of double letters, you're not getting a good view anywhere in the stadium. Obviously, the south stand and the north stand's slightly better, of course. But if you're behind the goals and your single-digit letters, you very hard to see the opposite side, and you can't see where the 18-yard box is. You think you're in and goal and you're 40 yards, or vice versa. It's just the stadium. I mean, we could probably have another podcast about the state of the National Stadium. However, it's not good enough. I mean, people pay a lot of money to go and support Rangers. They love their seats. They're used to it. I mean, I've been in my seat since 1990. So it's going to be strange. It's going to be hard to adapt. And but the thing is, for me, is it's so important just to get in there and get settled. And we are where we are. There's no point looking back the way, and a football pitch is a football pitch. There'll be 50,000 Rangers fans, making it as the best of it is what we can. That's what we do. And yeah, but I agree. There's going to be some people. I'm almost like going to mute the word Hampden on Twitter, I think, when the seat allocations come out, because there'll be a lot of moans and groans. Now I'm sitting back row of the main stand, so I'm hoping that allocates me a high seat to get a good view. So fingers crossed. Selfishly, I'll be okay.
Cammy, you were talking about some issues. I feel if you don't want to talk about it, but you were talking about before the pod started, but you were bringing up a few issues that you were thinking of when you came to Hampden. Do you mind talking about them?
Aye, of course. It's. I mean, I'm selfishly a bit like Derrick. I sit up in the club deck, so I'm hoping for side of the park on either sides from a purely selfish point of view. Just on the allocation, I think that the low seating. I mean, I think we're going to have about 46,000 season ticket holders within a 50,000 stadium. So without saying that those people on public sale get the rubbish seats, those people on public sale get the rubbish seats in the low. So Rangers basically allocate, as Derrick said, from as high up as you possibly can, so that the comparable seat sort of situation is as close as possible. It's not going to be, but my issue is I sell the half-time draw tickets at Ibrox. It's one of these things, been doing it for 3 or 4 seasons in the West Enclosure. You do it for an hour before the game. The offices are in the Broomland stand. I'm curious as to how, and it's only a minor thing, it's because it affects me and it will affect people that work in the office and what have you, and obviously the money that goes towards the youth development. I'm intrigued as to how that aspect of it works from my point of view, because my hour before kickoff is essentially like selling that, go to the office, hand over your tickets, and then run up the 125 stairs to the club deck sort of situation, you know. So that's just it's a minor thing. It's not important in the grand scheme of things, but it affects. It's going to affect me and impact me, and it's going to impact the youth development, you know. And I'm sure there's other factors as well that are at play. You know, the knock on with regard to people not being able to use New Edmiston House, people not going to be able to use the retail, and so we're going to lose money. Are we going to do some sort of mobile unit at Hampden where you're going to be able to buy bits and pieces? Or that's, I mean, I'm glad I'm not involved in the actual organisation of all this, you know, because there's so many variables. I think seems to be the word for this week, you know. But it's I just hope over the next few days we get a bit more transparency and a bit more. This is where we're going. This is where we're sitting. This is what things are going to look like.
The reason I ask is because fans will have loads of wee different things that they do for the games that's going to be disrupted. Obviously, we'd much rather the games go ahead and we don't, you know, have to forfeit them or something like that. So from a point of view, it's good to just know that at least it is there, but it's just all these little things that are a bit frustrating for the fans. Just to talk about how bad the view is, I was in the east side, the Celtic end, not for Celtic Rangers games, but for the Scotland-Norway game where Chris Elowemu missed that sitter. We were celebrating for about 30 seconds before I realised he'd actually missed, because it looked like it went in. So that's how bad the seating is if you're at the wrong end of the ground. It really is bad to see. Have a good view at it. Bob, you're back. Feel free to come in. We were just talking about the stadium and kind of the annoyances that it might cause for the fans.
Yeah, it's obviously a bit of a pain. I mean, I know Cammy touched on it earlier that the difficulty being is they're saying about comparable seats, and I think between the ongoing works at Ibrox, which we don't know when that's going to be completed, we're now getting told that we're going to get a comparable seat in Hampden, and it doesn't compare. I think probably I've said that. Ibrox doesn't compare to Hampden. The only thing I'd been thinking about since yesterday was it might help us end whatever hoodoo people might think we have of the National Stadium are using it on a more regular basis, since we'll be there pretty much every second week between now and Christmas, if not between now and the end of the season. So it's probably best choice in terms of travel. I know we've discussed this before, Billy, that a lot of supporters coming from overseas, from Northern Ireland and the like, will hope a bit more. It's less travel for them to go to Hampden than it would be Murrayfield. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see how things. So I'm sure there'll be some teething issues the first few weeks of the season.
Well, I think we should move on for that anyway, Bob, and feel free to take the reins again. But Derrick, I'll come to you and we'll go round the horn a wee bit. Did you get a chance to see the interview with the manager over the last couple of days over in Holland?
Yeah, I did. First of all, I've not been on here before. I'm quite impressed with Clement and the way he carries himself, and he's been very professional in a hard circumstance at the moment. Is probably the first thing that came to mind when I watched it. He's almost, managing expectations. I'm sure he's disappointed in the transfer activity so far, but he didn't show that, which was first thing as a Rangers manager. He comes across as very articulate and very thoughtful, and it's great to see where we didn't really have that the last manager, in my opinion. So first and foremost, I'd like to credit him for that. However, he's it's not gave the fans anything to look forward to, and I think he almost meant that as well. I think, as I say, he was managing expectations, and I felt almost sorry for him in a way, because he's in control of the football side, and for me, he done a reasonable job last year with the tools that he had, and for me, he deserves a good go. But when I mean a good go, I mean fully backed with the signings and the funding that we require, and it's evidently clear that that's just not there at the moment. So although I was impressed with what he had to say, and as always he came across great, there was almost a tinge of oh, here we go again, and that's my concern for this season. And Cammy mentioned that August doesn't make or break a season. I honestly argue with that, and to say that the last couple of years we've been done by September, and that's the squad that we've got at the moment. I hate to be a doomsday guy. Cammy will tell you he knows me pretty well. I'm usually very positive, and and to the point that sometimes I called a happy clapper. But however, I'm concerned, and for me, behind that interview, Clement will probably be the same. So again, just a slight of a bit of a worry. But in terms of Clement, he looks as if he's preparing the team correctly. Obviously, we've had a draw with Liège, and training seems to be going well. Everyone seems to be happy in the camp with the tidbits that we're getting. But I just worry what comes next, and when we get to the nitty gritty in a couple of weeks' time, is where's the squad going to be, and is Clement going to be going to stick around, and is he going to be willing to go with the squad that he's got, and that's a question that he'll need to answer himself. But yeah, it's worrying times for everything at the moment. Again, I hate to be doomsday, but I feel for Clement at the moment. I really do.
Yeah, a bit interesting one, Derek. To be honest, I think I've not seen the interview from yesterday or from earlier in the week after the friendly game with Liège. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think he's obviously got to try and temper expectation, as you said. I think the fact that we've got a kind of lack of imminent signings, which is something we discussed in the the internal chat, was again not great. But I'm guessing just because of the way the international markets work, it's likely that it'll probably not be till August, that kind of last month, that we're looking into probably finalising deals. I'm sure we're still working stuff in the background, but it'll definitely be, I suspect, towards the the latter stages of August before we really finalise what we're looking for. And again, hopefully we see some more deals throughout that month.
Yeah, unfortunately, we won't sign. Sorry, Bob. Unfortunately, we won't sign anyone from the Euros. Unfortunately, but of course, there's a trickle down effect. So, if these teams from the Euros move on, then the teams replace them with someone else, and then we can almost pick up someone else below that. And unfortunately, that's where we are. But I do agree that I think after maybe there'll be a kind of dull lull after the game on Sunday. But I think probably this time next week, I think things will start to kick off, and hopefully, fingers crossed, then we're sitting maybe here in 2 weeks' time and we've got another 3 or 4 starters in, and we're in a better place. Because by contrary to a lot of people on Twitter and social media, I actually don't think we're that far away. With a couple of signings that came in last year, I was encouraged by how they played. But I don't think we're actually 8, 9, 10 players away here. I think we're 3 or 4, and that seems like a million miles away right now, but it can change very quickly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think as you say, maybe in the next week or so, we'll maybe see a bit more movement after the end of the Euros over the weekend. But we'll move on slightly to other comments that were made after the draw with the Lage. I know there had been a few comments from Kieran Dell made. I know, Billy, you'd mentioned it on the Flash News, saying that he was learning a new position. So maybe just come to you first on your thoughts on that. Just, the fact they said he was kind of learning a new position as a central midfielder, which again thought was quite strange considering he is a midfielder, or we assume he was a midfielder. So yeah, just what your thoughts on that?
I just thought it was a strange thing. Like, was he trying to make excuses for not having a great start? I mean, he could easily just say, look, I had a bad, and he did actually say this as well. He had a bad time with injuries last season, but using that just felt a bit weird. I mean, as you say, mate, I thought he was a midfielder, and I know there's a difference between an attacking midfielder and your number 10 and whatever, but you think he's played football for all through his youth career. He knows how to play the position of midfield. Again, the shirt can be too heavy for a lot of the players. Maybe that's what he was meaning, that it's hard to play that position when he's got 50,000 fans on his back to, for the next pass to be perfect. So it may just be that he was trying to say. But I thought that's why I highlighted it in the what are these videos called? The flash videos, whatever they are, the quick videos, because it stuck out to me as a weird thing. But in the rest of his interview, it did sound like he was looking forward to the new season, that he was fighting fit and ready to go. So he may not be one of the ones that eventually goes out, which we maybe were thinking at the end of the season he was one of the ones to go. But just to talk about what Derrick says, I'm usually pretty positive. But when you've got your happy clappers, as he was saying, feeling like we're feeling now, that's probably not a good sign. And maybe Clement yesterday in his interview was not over egging the pudding, maybe under egging the pudding, because he hopes that it's going to be better than that, but he's preparing us for the worst. So say we had to go with that team that we played Liège with, that might be what we have, but I don't think it will be. And I say I'm like Derrick, I'm more on the positive side usually, but we've had such a bad couple of seasons really. At least we kept it going, but we had a terrible start to the season last season. I think it was Dowell actually mentioned that just because you don't have a good start, that you was shown that we can go back into it. I don't want to be coming back into it. I want to have foot on the throat from the word go, and going to Hampden doesn't help. But we probably, as you're saying, Derrick, we probably only are 3 or 4 players from having a decent starting squad, or starting team, and maybe 1 or 2 more for having a decent squad.
Yeah, I take your point, Billy. I think I think probably the point maybe comes to yourself, Cammy, come to you now, that the fact that it was kind of referenced that we didn't have a great pre-season last year. A lot of these signings that we thought were going to come good last year didn't. You think because we're now having a full pre-season under the new management team that, as he said when he first came in, he wants to make sure we're the fittest in the league, that we're going to maybe see the better performance from the players that underperformed last year, like Sadil, and maybe even Matondo, etc., etc. What are your thoughts? I know it's only really been the first kind of week of the away part of the pre-season, but and I've not seen any highlights of the game. But I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on how you think some of these maybe underperforming players may do, and it obviously touches into the lack or the perceived lack of imminent signings from what the manager said.
I think if everybody can get a full pre-season without injuries, I think that would be a major improvement on what's gone before. I think that's that's undoubtedly that's been a criticism over the last, probably back to Gerrard. I think every manager that's came in has criticised the manager before because the pre-season wasn't fit for purpose, sort of thing, So I just want everybody to stay fit, and I just want to see a Rangers team that I can watch and I can actually see what they're trying to do. I want to see what they're doing in possession and what they're doing out of possession, regardless of the quality of each individual. I think if you see a team that you can identify with and it's very clear, that was a concern that I had as the season drifted to a halt. That I thought it was very hard to actually understand what we were doing in certain instances. But it's a clean slate with regard to that aspect of it. 3 weeks tomorrow we go to Tynecastle. You know, that's it's quite a scary thought, to be honest with you. But a lot can change in a week. A lot can change in 3 weeks. I think Derrick's probably spot on with regard to we aren't far away, but the spine for me needs to be stronger. And I think any successful side, I'll get all the cliches out the way here. That's how Souness built his team all the years back in 1986. Graham Souness didn't sign loads of players. Graham Souness signed Chris Woods, Terry Butcher, and then Graham Roberts, sort of thing, you know. So, and that made a heck of a difference. Your Cammy Frasers and your Ian Durrants and Stuart Monroe, Dave McPherson, all these boys were still there, but you know, you very quickly can turn it around with the right signings. So think back a few years, Walter didn't have a lot of cash and he signed Nikica Jelavic, used his whole budget on Nikica Jelavic, and the difference it made to have a number 9 that was the master of the one-touch finish and that sort of thing, you know. I mean, it's small margins, you know, sort of thing, you know. But I hope a lot change. I hope a lot happens in the next 3 weeks. But I think we are hamstrung by contracts that have been given to players that clearly aren't part of the plans. So many different managers, different players. I think the squad's too high. We've cut a fair bit off the wage bill with the 5 players that have left. It's, I think, a clean bill of health after pre-season and everybody fit and ready. I mean, next Saturday we play Man United at Murrayfield. You know, we'll just have to see how we fare there and just take it on for there. We play Birmingham and then Union Berlin, but 3 weeks till the real action starts, and I just hope everybody stays fit and we can actually start to see a coherent tactical plan on and off the ball over the course of the weeks ahead.
Yeah, I think, Cammy, I think that's my worry. Sorry, Bob, if I can just come in. My worry with Clement a little bit is, you know, what was the clear style there on and off the ball. I think if you came and watched my team tonight, you would see whether we win 5-0 or lose 5-0, clearly how we play. You know, it's the first thing that a manager should implement. I'm just hoping that because the games came thick and thin last year, he didn't have time on the training part to really implement his style. And I'm hoping that we see that. We kind of seen a little bit of improvement after the winter break in terms of how we played out. We weren't as direct and stuff like that. It might just been a fact he didn't trust the players we had and he had to go that way. But I'm really hoping, you know, with Cortez especially coming in, that we see a bit more pressing and a wee bit more style. Clement at Monaco and other teams, it was a very hard-working, pressing as a unit, forcing mistakes, and unfortunately we've not really seen that. However, in the cup final, when we had a bit more legs in the team, we did look a bit more, you know, athletic, a bit more dangerous, and certainly for most parts of the game were, you know, the better side, or at least not in any trouble. So I just hope that that's what's been worked on, because it doesn't matter who the players are. If you've got an off-the-ball style, it should come shining through, because running and pressing, you know, you can do that. That doesn't matter who you are. That's a non-negotiable. So off the ball, I'm hoping for a massive improvement, and on the ball, I'm looking to see that clear Clement style. You know, what is it? You know, and is it going to wingers quickly? Is it, you know, playing through the thirds? You know, but we need to see something, and we need to see it quickly, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I take on board your point, Derek. I think just as you were touching on, and again, just as I kind of highlighted there with the comment from RFC 72 about the medical department, there was comments made at the end of last season that there would be changes made. As of yet, we've not seen anything that might be behind closed doors, but you know, there's been nothing said or announced via the club or leaked otherwise that would kind of show that there's been any changes at the moment. So again, that's maybe a bit of a concern that if we do go into this season ahead with the same set of medical staff, do we have a concern that the injuries that were seen last season reoccur, or again, just kind of what we were talking about, that, you know, with the plan that Clement has for pre-season, obviously fitness would be a massive factor in that, and how that may then impact positively on the squad. It'll be interesting to see Billy, I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that. Just maybe to come to you on that one.
I'm also like Derrick. There's just what is the style that he wants to play, and I know we can look back at his times at previous clubs, but has he moved on from that type of style? As he says, he want to do something different. He talked about, was it lateral passes, not doing lateral passes anymore that we've been doing, and guess getting out to the wingers. He's not had the wingers, to be fair to him, to do maybe what he wanted to do, but also we've only really got Cortez in so far. So we're still going to need someone in that position, a starting player in that position, to really see what his style is. But we're all still a bit in the dark, mate, because we know it's not going to take one transfer window. We know that, but we're hoping that it's going to be something as evident at that first Hearts game to show what a style is going to be for this season.
Yeah, and then maybe just we'll come on to the signings part of it now. I know last week we were on. We were waiting for the announcement of Eagleman, which was eventually announced on the Friday. Since then, we've had one departure, which was announced during this week, which was Robbie McCrory going to Kelly on a 2-year deal. Again, surprising it's only 2 years. I don't know if that plays into anything that may be a long-term plan, but Cammy, I'll come to you on that one. What were your thoughts on Eagleman signing, which again I think we're all expecting, but maybe more so the deal for Robbie McCrory going out the door to Kilmarnock?
Eagleman, it was it was one of those that dragged on for a wee while. We were obviously waiting on clearance, and I think that's still been an issue. The fact that he's remained in Glasgow while the guys are away to Netherlands. But I've made a point of not searching to see what these guys are like. I've not paid a great deal of attention. I'll judge them when I see them with my own eyes, sort of thing. Robbie McCrory, long overdue. I'm a great believer in young players going out and making a career for themselves. If you're not a goalkeeper, slightly different, but I think if you're not in a first team squad and pushing at 2021, I think get out, make a career for yourself. And I think I'm pleased for him. It's a good club, good manager that he's going to be working. I just hope that he goes and gets the football that he needs, because he's dedicated 18 years of his life to being at Rangers, and I'm sure it's been a wrench for him. And I think he spoke very well in his media stuff that he done at Kilmarnock. So I think we knew it was going to happen. Obviously, Liam Kelly coming in. So I think it was one in, one out sort of situation. Liam Kelly left Rangers for the similar sort of reason to Robbie McCrory, and who's to say that Robbie McCrory won't end up back with us at some point in the future.
Yeah, true. Maybe come at yourself on that one. What were your thoughts on the kind of the announcement, obviously with Eagleman and with Robbie McCrory?
Well, I done the opposite. Cammy had a research on YouTube and stuff, and he looks like a direct, pacey striker that can finish. However, you need to take into mind that the level that he was playing at, and that the manager's already said that he's not physically ready. So I've almost put him in the back of my head, if I've been perfectly honest, in terms of making an impact. And if the manager's done his job there, he's managed my expectations. So again, it's good to see we're looking in these places and looking for new talent. So that's a positive. In terms of Robbie McCrory, I say this to the boys that I have, no one gets better sitting on a bench. So he served his apprenticeship, if you like. You get some of these goalies that get to 23, 24 and they've got 15 pro appearances. That's no use. You need to go out and learn your trade. You need to make your mistakes in a live environment, and you need to learn from them. And Robbie, it's a great move for Robbie. Kilmarnock, as Cammy said, it's a good club. He won't have to up sticks, in terms of where he's living and all that, and that matters at this age. So I think he had a bit of a howler last night, if I've seen on Twitter, but I'm sure Robbie will make a good career for himself. He's a very, very good goalkeeper. And we've got Butland, he's never going to displace him at the moment. Butland's one of the best goalies in Britain at the moment. So he has to go out and play, and hopefully we see him back as a more improved player if that's the case, because there's nothing better than seeing Scottish Rangers fans in the team for me. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but there's always something about that. So we'll see how it goes, but he definitely has to go out and play. It's the right time, probably a year, 18 months too late, but I'm sure he'll recover that really well, and he's got Kilmarnock side who are doing well under McInnes, so it should be a positive experience for him once he gets up and running. But yeah, I think it'll be a good move for him, and I think that he'll do well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the fact that Kilmarnock are in Europe this season as well is probably another added bonus for him, that he'll get European football for however long we don't know. But again, he'll have that kind of added European experience as well. Billy, come to yourself. I know we discussed this kind of last week with Egan. Looks a kind of exciting prospect. I think Clement said during the week they were going to have to, again, as Derrick touched on, manage expectations with him coming into the team. But yeah, what were your thoughts maybe more so on Robbie McCrory going out the door? Again, obviously sad to see him go, but I think as we've probably all kind of touched on, it's probably the right time, if not a wee bit too late.
Yeah, I can't really add anything other than it's not sad for me, because I feel it's actually sad he stayed a bit too long. He should have maybe left a bit earlier. I know he was maybe given assurances he would get some game time, but just for him and his career as as I say, go out on his own and be his own man, he maybe stayed a wee bit longer, and it's maybe to his detriment that he's not got another couple of years under his belt being a number one. I did see that he hadn't had a great performance yesterday against Ayr. I think some of the Kilmarnock fans were asking if there was a 14-day returns policy on him, because apparently made a bit of a howl. I've not seen it, but again, it's his first game. He's not played a lot of football, so I think the Kelly fans need to give him time. He is a good goalkeeper. I mean, he's what was it, 2 Old Firm games he played for us and kept clean sheets in both of them, I think. So you can't say he's a bad keeper, but hopefully, and I'm only basing this on hearing about him for maybe the last 8-9 years, that the club really rated him and really thought he was going to come in and take over from McGregor. So I hope that he does get to kind of do that eventually, and maybe the 2-year deal thing as a sign that we might want to bring him back again if he shows potential, or he realises the potential at Kilmarnock. The Igaman one, I felt a little bit disappointed that Clement poured a bit of cold water on all the expectations, but I guess he's protecting the player because he knows what us fans are like. We jump on the back of a new signing and they're all fantastic until they're not, and then we turn on them pretty quick. So he's maybe just getting our expectations in check, because the boy's been on holiday. He's not played since his season ended. And he's not had the proper pre-season training that Clement would want him to have had. So we do need to give him a bit of time, and I think that maybe that's what Clement was doing. But yeah, it seemed to drag on. We seemed to talk about it on the Rangers news for a few weeks at least, and we knew about it before that. I think it was maybe 5-6 weeks ago I did the interview with the Moroccan journalist, and we thought he was coming then. So it's been a really long-running saga, and would like to see him play. Hopefully now that he is clear to play, he gets some minutes in these friendlies. But yeah, happy with both the players, and hopefully we see McCrory again someday in a Rangers shirt.
I think it was great management with Clement, by the way. I was very impressed with that, because it almost shows he's, a wee bit of, managing expectations, as we've mentioned 5 or 6 times. But however, it also protects the player. It gives them time to settle into a brand new environment, a brand new country, brand new culture. I thought it was very, very good management from Clement. And again, I've been impressed with all this side of stuff from Clement. He's a manager in terms of the way he carries himself as a Rangers manager, as I would expect. So that's all positive, and I thought it was really, really refreshing to see that, actually, instead of promising the world, and ultimately we see players getting promised the world, deliver not much. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, no, it was very good management for Clement, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think again, because he's a young lad coming to, I think he mentioned that, he's coming to a new culture, a new way of playing. He's not at the fitness levels that we're expecting him to be at. So I think it just means that we're not pinning our hopes on him that that first game of the season. I know that we're still waiting to see, we'll probably touch on this a bit more detail now with the Standard Liège game, that Danilo didn't play any of that game. I know that there have been obviously a number of new signings making their debut and getting some game time when that friendly. I think for Egan, to ease him in, just as RFC 72 was saying, it probably bodes well for the younger players. You say, Derrick, I think from a management point of view, it's probably good management to come out and say that right at the start, rather than he comes in, he may come in against against Ajax or Man United, depending on when he's back from his holiday or how quickly he gets into the training in the Netherlands. But yeah, I think we can't stick all our hopes on this young lad again. It's too much. It would be too much too soon for him. I think we need to actually need to see more of Danilo in Dessers if he stays. I think that'll be an interesting one to see. I know there's been some rumours that, and again we'll probably touch on that, about Dessers leaving. But at the moment, Danilo and Dessers are the kind of main strike force. So it'll be interesting to see what game time they get over the next few friendlies. So we'll maybe move on, just touching a bit more detail on the game against Liège. I know there had been more or less two teams out over that, over the two halves, with Hefty, Connor Barron, Cortez making Cortez making his second debut, but definitely Hefty and Barron and Ciala playing as well. I've actually not seen any highlights of the game. I'm not sure if any of you guys have, but I mean, maybe come to you. Did you see any of the highlights, or was there anything that you seen in the media that would give you any comments on the performances of the new boys?
No, massively. I think that's training ground kickabout was the training ground bounce game, whatever you want to call it. That's I think Derrick's obviously got experience of how they ramp up during the course of pre-season. I mean, we'd played a game at the training centre a lot before we went to the Netherlands, played that game, so it's just a gradual, incremental situation. Keep people fit, and start to try to build fitness and patterns of play and all that sort of stuff across the pre-season. So I saw a clip of Barron pressing somebody and like tackling and that sort of thing, but that's like a bit of non-negotiable for me, for any footballer, to be honest with you. So nothing. We'll see what Ajax brings tomorrow, and then obviously take it from there. But keeping players fit and just getting everybody in the best condition for the Hearts game at the start of August. That's all I'm really focused on at the moment.
Sure. No, I take that. Derrick, what about yourself? Did you see anything else? Have you seen anything of the new boys other than maybe what's been out in the media before they signed?
Nah, and I didn't see much. I've seen the odd clip on Twitter, and it must have been coming out from RTV and their highlights. And you really, all you're really, and without watching the full 90 minutes, it's hard to comment. That all you really want to see in these games is a bit of style. Like, what have you been working on that week? That's at the end of every. So for me, again, I'm massively lower level, but for me to like my game tonight, I'm looking to see what we worked on Monday and Wednesday. That's what I want to see in pre-season. I want to see boys getting incrementally fitter, and I want to see what did we do this week at training. And that's it. You're not really getting any much expectations apart from that. Obviously, winning is a habit, as well. So you want to start winning games pretty quickly as well. But again, I wouldn't look too much into these next 2, even 3 games. I think we'll probably treat the Union Berlin game as almost like a league game, as the week before the season starts. And I think by then you should be able to see who's going to be playing, what the style is, at least for an hour of that game. So everything's all towards that Hearts game. So I wouldn't even look too much into tomorrow either in terms of what happens. However, obviously to get a win over Ajax at any time would be fantastic, but I wouldn't be looking into anything until the Union Berlin game for me.
Sure. No, I think me and Billy kind of mentioned that the last kind of week or so with the way the friendlies are set up. I think that Union Berlin game is probably going to be the most obvious signs of how we're going to go into the start of the season. And maybe also the European qualifiers around that point as well. So it'll be interesting to see if we'll get any more signings in the door at that point. And again, the difficulty is how up to speed they can get, if they are through the door. Billy, I'll come to yourself on maybe the next point. I know we were talking about the signings coming and going there. I did see as well this week that what you would probably term as the third choice goalkeeper, Kieran Knight, has went out on loan for the season to Airdrie. Just maybe a quick point on that one. What's your thoughts?
Maybe biased because I used to live out that way, in between there and Cumbernauld, so I quite like Airdrie. But and was friends with Marvin Wilson, who was a captain for a while, and so I'm happy that he's went there. And it's just that I don't know, but would that mean we're promoting another one of the B team guys to the third spot? Is that right?
Well, I think it's Mason Munn. I think he was part of the kind of youth team that won the I was going to say the Challenge Cup, the youth cup at the end of that last season. I think he's kind of making that step up. I think he'll probably be looked at as his third choice now that McCrory's away. And
well, all I was going to say in that, to me, it was good because that's maybe where McCrory, that's the age maybe McCrory should have been looking at getting away and getting first team football, and then maybe he would have come back in by now and been, the replacement that we maybe thought he was going to be. So that was always thinking that was a good move for him and a good age. But I was unaware who was going to come in and play the third choice.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. I think Mason Munn's actually been called up to the Northern Ireland under 19 squad for I think their upcoming internationals. So maybe just touch on say the younger goalkeepers, Cammy. Firstly on Kieran Wright going out the door for the season, and maybe just touch on Mason Munn as well.
Well, he's very similar to Robbie McCrory for me. Kieran Wright, just checking, is 25. I mean,
yeah.
he had loans a couple of years ago, but has not really done much over the last couple of years. So I think he's another one. I just think I don't know what his contractual situation is. Go out and make a career for yourself. I think it goes well at Airdrie, then potentially that becomes a permanent deal. Mason Munn, they obviously think a lot of with regard to giving him a 4-year contract. I think we've done well to keep a hold of him. I think there was a lot of interest from down south, but won't surprise me if we actually bring in somebody that's happy just to be a third choice, because Mason Munn is only 18. It's I'm not saying another Andy Firth type, but I think a lot of the young goalkeepers, Jay Hogarth's out on loan again this season. He's till Christmas. He's away to Queen of the South. So, and I think it's good. It's like what Derrick says. Young goalkeepers get out and learn and make mistakes. And I'll use Jay as an example. I know the family. Jay will be approaching 70, 80 league appearances now across the last 2.5 seasons. That can only hold him in good stead, whether he makes it at Rangers or whether he doesn't. He's getting out and playing games, But Kieran Wright, good club. Rhys McCabe's doing a good job at Airdrie, so I hope he goes there and gets plenty of minutes.
Yeah, hope so. As you say, he just stands him in good stead. Either he comes back or he heads out at the end of the season, depending on how well he plays and if there's interest. I think I'm just in interest of time. I'll maybe throw it open to you guys. Is there anything else that you want to talk about as part of the Rangers news today? Derrick, I'll come to yourself first.
No, I think we've covered everything. I just looking forward to the next couple of weeks to see if we can improve the squad and looking forward to the proper game start. People can talk about pre-season results and pre-season performances, but nothing else matters apart from that game at Tynecastle in a few weeks. So looking forward to ramping up towards that. And what we'll like, we'll have, the time that ball kicks off at Tynecastle, we'll have blind hope that we're going to win every trophy, and that's the way it should be at Rangers. So just looking forward to that over the next few weeks, and hopefully getting a few more bodies in and seeing Clement with his own style and his own players, hopefully having a good go at things.
Agreed. I'm looking forward to it. Billy, anything more that you want to add?
The last thing that we didn't touch on that we discussed, mate, was Mia Macaulay being called up to the first team squad for Scotland. So that's great for her. But I think that was the only thing we were going to cover, mate.
Yeah, my daughter playing that. He was a couple of younger, but she used to train me that Rangers 2006 group, and there's quite a few of them in there that were real quality. I see us few out in loan and stuff, but Maya's really, really kicked on this last year or so, and yeah, it's great to see. I mean, the women's side of things is obviously going really well at the moment, so fingers crossed there's more to come for the younger squads, because Rangers have put a lot of effort into the youth side the last 5 years, maybe longer, before they went professional, and we're starting to see the fruits of that now.
Yeah, Yeah, I think the women's team obviously had a relatively successful season last year. Obviously just pipped to the post of the league, but they won the two cups, which was always good to see. Cammy, coming to yourself, anything more you want to add? Anything you want to touch on?
The one thing about the women's side, they got a stinker of a draw in the old Champions League qualifiers. So I think if you win the league, then you get yourself a better. But Arsenal's probably one of the sides you definitely wouldn't want to be. But aye, she's a name that appears to be a very talented girl, you know. So good luck to her. Derrick pretty much covered where I'm at and what I want to see over the next 3 weeks. That's that for the football side of it. From the personal side of it, and for us as Rangers supporters, more information around what Hampden's going to look like and where we're going to be sitting and all that sort of stuff. You know, I think Rangers as a club are terrible at communication. We need to be so much better. And John Bennett, when he issues his personal update at the end of the month, has to hold his hands up and say we must do better, because we communicate like a Sunday league team. You know, not a club that's turning 70, 80 million turnover. You know, it's a long held opinion of mine. A joined up communication strategy and update the fans. It's not really difficult.
No.
Yeah, I agree. I think just to wrap things up, I definitely agree, Cam. I think we all agree. I think over the next few weeks there needs to definitely be a ramp up in improvement, not only on the pitch but off it, with regard to the communications from the board and the chairman, and from the club in general. Hopefully, if things are becoming a bit more clear with regard to the home games being at Hampden, then hopefully we'll get a bit more information at the end of July from John Bennett. But I'm conscious of time. I'd like to thank all my guests today. Derrick, thanks very much for joining today. It's been a great pod. Thank you for making yourself available.
No problem.
Any last thank yous or anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, all good.
Excellent. Billy, thanks again, as always, been the co-host while I try to sort this camera out. Well, it's not just the Bill and Bob show now. We've expanded just a wee bit, so I appreciate you taking the lead when I had to jump off. Anything else you want to say before we?
Just to the two guys, we've been kind of doing the Rangers news round about this time. I'm usually off on a Friday, so if any's available again to come on any point during the Friday during the day, please let us know if you're able to do that, because it was great having you on. So thanks, Derrick, thanks, Cammy, and thanks, Bob, and thanks everybody for all the comments that they gave during the stream. Thank you.
Yeah, really good comments. Cammy, any last words or comments before we close things out?
No, I just say it's great to be podding with Derrick again. We go back a few years, and it's great to have him on board. He talks a lot of sense and a brilliant debut. Thoroughly enjoyable hour, and as always about Rangers, we could probably go on for another hour, but unfortunately, life, other things in life we have to get on with. But it's been good, guys. Thanks very much.
Yeah, no problem. As I say, just want to thank everyone again, Derrick, Billy and Cammy, for joining us. Thanks everyone in the chat that was watching and live streaming. Please like, share and subscribe. We're up at 1,500 subscribers. I'd like to see that increase as much as we can, so please tell your friends and share us as much as you can. But with that being said, I've been Bob. This has been the Rangers Journal, Rangers News for today. And with that being said, every night is a Rangers Journal night. Thank you.